Hi everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here and welcome to Enlightenment Activation on the shadow of peace, which is conflict. I spoke to 6 individuals about how they transform conflict and create inner peace in their lives for themselves and others.
I'm Dennis Wong. I was born 76 years ago in Hawaii. I'm now living in Westport, Connecticut. My profession is in business strategy and marketing, and I'm able to use that expertise to follow my passion in peace and conflict transformation as a member of a Rotary Club of World Peace, and I'm also a founder of the Rotarian Action Group for Peace. The four-way test is a Rotary principle for integrity and ethical behavior in everyone's business and everyday life. It is also Rotary's unique way of approaching problem solving and conflict resolution using empathy, trust, and accountability. The four-way test goes like this. Of all the things we think, say, or do, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Every morning, I say the four-way test to start my day, and I find it very useful throughout the day. Some on a business level, some on a personal level. I use it in my communications. And many times when I think about the four-way test and about the truth and building friendships, on occasions I've stopped myself from sending it. And to my relief and benefit, it was the right thing to do. On other occasions, I've used the four-way test in, again, problem solving and conflict resolution. People ask me, is it true? And it says, what is the truth? And that's a good question because the truth has many aspects. And I think one of the things that I find is defining the truth for different people and also making a distinction between facts, opinions, assumptions, and also even beliefs, because a lot of times we have beliefs that are not necessarily, can't be proven per se, especially in religion. But the thing is, it's really about understanding at least where you're coming from and what is your truth within the context of the situation. And also understanding and appreciating what the truth is for the other person. And I think once you get to that position, at least understanding that this is the truth, that you can at least move on, even though you may not necessarily agree wholeheartedly with what the other person is saying, but at least you can put things in context and understand where that person is coming from. I like this graphic because you can see 2 people looking at the same thing from different perspectives. And what if the 2 people really got together side by side and actually went around this particular number? I think they would agree as they went around what the number represents and what they could do. And this is the idea of really the four-way test, is really to getting to the truth, also the understanding of, fairness, obviously, and truly empathy in a sense that they can agree on, even to disagree, but agree on the sense that they see what they see is really what both people see. And so this is the start of really conflict resolution. Problem solving is really to understand each other's point of view in moving forward. Just as we have the golden rule, I hope people will consider really having the four-way test as part of their life, and also in the idea of using it for peace and conflict resolution. I also like the words of Mother Teresa. Peace begins with a smile. So I say, use the four-way test and smile.
Hi, I'm Sharna J. I'm 41 years old. I live in Perth, Western Australia, and I'm a librarian. 10 days after my baby was born, I hemorrhaged, and I realised that at that point I'd been internally bleeding for 10 days. Started to get quite a lot of spotting, and I was just like, oh, I don't think this is normal. So I booked myself in for an appointment with the doctor at 1 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, my husband came in from work for morning tea, and I just felt this overwhelming sense in my womb, my uterus. So I quickly handed him the baby. I stood up and blood gushed everywhere. And he put me in the shower. I was just sobbing because I had no idea what was going on, and I was squeezing my legs together so hard, thinking I'm letting go of my whole life because I could not stop this feeling. And I could feel a rising panic and a terror, like this fear that I just wanted to scream. But some other part of me took over, and I got this message just to breathe. Because even though I'm losing my life, I can breathe and I have a choice. And I could choose to panic, to cry, to get caught up in all that drama, or I could choose to breathe. And so I chose to breathe. As soon as I got to the hospital, they were transfusing me, but I was losing it as quick as they were transfusing me, and they had no idea what was causing the bleeding, and they had no idea how to stop it. And actually, through that whole hospital time, I was completely calm. I had periods where I kind of blacked out, and I don't remember a lot of periods, but I just look at that time now where I was in, the only words I have to describe it is I was in a state of grace. It's quite a small, large country town compared to over east. The hangar was just a shed. So I'm in the shed. I'm kind of half in, half out. It's quite late at night. And I remember just looking up because I could see the stars. And I remember feeling how connected I was to the stars, how there was nothing between me and the stars. And actually the absurdity of laying on this hospital stretcher. They were unwrapping the blankets to check, how the bleeding was going, and the absurdity of being out under the stars with my whole lower self just completely exposed, and I'm laying there under the stars with no pants on. I'm laying in one of the women's hospitals in Perth, and I just went, okay, I can do this. And as I decided I would completely surrender my life, a hand reached out to me and said, you want to come with us? You can stay here if you want, but do you want to come? I had only maybe less than a heartbeat's hesitation of my children and my husband. And I just went, no, they've got their own life, they're loved, I can let them go. Like, a dolphin when they swim really fast and you see them jump out of the water and you get that sense of joy. And so I've come to a circular library in the sky, and suddenly one of them says, well, how about this? And they open up a book, and I look at it. It's got 2 words on a page, only 2 words, and with those 2 words I completely sink. I'm just like, oh God. And I make the decision to come back because I haven't fulfilled my soul contract. And that soul contract was these 2 words. And I realised that that's the key for all of us. The key is self-worth.
Hello guys, my name's Kean, Buckley. I'm 56 years of age. I live in the Sunshine Coast of beautiful Australia. I'm a thought leader and authenticity expert. I run a business called beyourself.com.au. I come from quite a warring family, quite a violent family, to be honest, on a metaphysical level. And sometimes I think, to be honest, as a younger person, I'd rather be hit than actually what I felt coming my way. So I learned to be energetically sensitive at a very, very early stage. And one day I had a very, very bad argument with my father, and I jumped on a bicycle and got up to 60 kilometers an hour, furiously cycling, weeping, very, very, very upset. And my left knee hit the bull bar of a truck. That I crunched my knee. My knee's hanging down on the ground. I thought it was dislocated, but only one bone broken. Worst pain I ever felt. And typical bloke, I'm joking to the guy who, you know, left the truck, and I'm fine, mate, we'll be good. Oh, were you looking at a woman or something like that? That was the sort of thing that was going on. So no peace, standard male kind of metaphors of, oh, you're right, mate, and that kind of thing. And there I'm at 15 years of age learning this stuff. I attended a 10-day Vipassana retreat, which is a silent meditation supposed to be built on the Dharma, the path which Buddha takes to become enlightened. And you literally don't talk, you eat veg food, you go the day before the 10th day and leave the day after. And it's a huge commitment to your personal self. So I'm now 40 years on, I'm in a Vipassana. We're sitting on, these cushions, which were quite comfy. And it's got to the point now where it's about breath, respiration, and sensation. Childbirth is one of the biggest pains of all time. I haven't had one. But when I got down into my pelvis eventually on the 4th day, and I felt the referral pain from 60-kilometer shock into my pelvis, I was in the most incredible pain I've ever been in my life. And it was sitting inside me for 40 years. This pain creates wars, it creates violence towards women, to men. It's there sitting inside all of us all of the time. And when we get razor sharp, which I did with my breath and working on myself, I got into this point where I could feel pain that had been in me still there 40 years on, and maybe lifetimes there. I'm going, okay, I'm just going to push through that until I'm on the other side of it, which is me. It's my energy body, my light body. It's what we're all about. It's what we've come down here to be, is be inside a body and be real inside that body, giving real light, not real pain, not real war. They're saying in certain religions, the Buddhists, etc., that these sankharas, these scars, are epigenetically, as Bruce Lipton and the guys gone about, it's epigenetically kept inside us. It's cellular, stored inside us, waiting like atom bombs to be exploded. So now for the rest of my days, I'm going to find a laser beam type focus to go in and find every skerrick of pain and schema, sankhara, schematic, any kind of psychology inside myself, so that I'm a free, peaceful man. Because basically, my life is a reflection of the peace that's inside me. My country is a reflection of the peace of the people. That's what peace is about. And peace is not to be amongst a bunch of daffodils and lotus flowers in a perfect garden with a perfect, barley or whatever it is, etc. It's to be in the middle of a war and to go and stop it because the peace is in your heart. And I've always felt one day there's going to be a little girl skipping through the middle of a war with a daffodil in her hand, and everyone's going to go, what the hell are we doing? And to stop it. And I see 21% of the US budget, it's a massive amount of money spent on the military. And I'm like, why don't we just cut the military and all be loaded? Why don't we just all get into a room and tell the leaders of the world to stop creating wars and create peace, and we'd be cool. So I think it's because they're warring inside themselves, as in this general man called Mad Dog something, who's been filmed next to dead children in the last war he was at. It's like, we don't need to honor those people. We need to honor the little girl with the daffodil, or the young boy, or the person that can go right into the middle of the war, have peace in their heart because they haven't learned war.
I'm barbaragaughen-muller, and I am the president of the United Nations Association in Santa Barbara, where I live, and the Tri-County. I have won the Spirit of the United Nations Award, and I love doing work for the world. How do you take a moment in history, let's say, where evil is prevalent, and how do you transform that into peace? Well, recently I composed with Mark Fowler and my other author, The Revolutionary Conversations, how to have that conversation that allows you to get past the fear that you feel in that moment, because fear is an emotion and emotions take over, and it allows you to have a conversation that brings you to clarity about the situation, where you are totally present and you become part of the solution to that problem or the situation, it allows you to give up blame, and it allows you to find out what's really going on. It starts with something so simple. It starts with, may I stop you? That's if somebody says you, oh, you're just the worst person I ever met. And you say, I'm the worst person you ever met. I need to ask you a question. Could you tell me more about that? So that you're getting information so that you can have that moment when you believe that this situation is more powerful than the emotion. And from evil to peace, it works. You know, stop sounds so simple. Why do you stop at a stop sign? To be safe, to go forward. The same thing in a conversation that's very emotional, very heated. You stop. May I stop a moment? Even if the person's shouting at you, they almost stop just because they're so used to stopping at the word stop. I need some help. I need to ask you a question. I really want to understand what you're saying, and I want to come alongside. The only way I can do that is to understand. And may I ask you a question? So that's starting with the tools that we have in our Revolutionary Conversation book, which are the tools you need for the success you want. Stop, help, ask. And then you go to taking a chance, and we call it risk. What if I take a chance here and I become more of like you, and I understand who you are, and then we explore the possibilities. A lot of conversations start out of fear, and fear is very powerful. And until you realize that you can have the power over the fear, you won't have that conversation because that emotion will come up. So even if it's a violent situation, if the intention is there and you visualize peace, then you have an opportunity to use the shared tools. Evil really is an experience. It has power, but it's not the power. The evil doesn't have the power if you take back the power. And so violence and evil all have this unknown power. And if you take back the power and you have the conversation, whether it's in your newspaper, whether it's on TV, whether it's with a friend, that conversation allows you to take back the power and actually dissolve the evil that's there. In 1983, we were looking at the situation on the planet, and we realized that peace is not working right now, and that we really needed to have a day of peace, the International Day of Peace, a very small idea that started, and now we have the International Day of Peace, our 39th one starting tomorrow. And I must tell you about something that's so dear to my heart, the Peace Corner. We created this Peace Corner with a little girl in a Montessori school who said, I can't do anything, I'm so little. And we said, look at this, you could start the Peace Corners. Now we have thousands of Peace Corners in every school and every room in the house. It's a time for you to be back to who you are and bring peace into the situation.
I'm Emeli Paulo. I'm 36 years old. I'm a coach, I'm a speaker here in Melbourne, and I get people on purpose. I get tribes on purpose. I feel like I see a lot of the time a big conflict going on in the world, and I call this disconnection. And you see it in the statistics that are out there. The World Health Organization says that anxiety and depression will be the biggest health issue humanity's ever faced by 2020. This is very, very much unacceptable to me. But I just have such an underlying passion to look at this conflict and say, this is just disconnection. We're disconnected from the world around us. We use drugs and alcohol. We're using television. We're buying clothes. It's very materialistic. And all of this disconnection the stats that we're hearing, I'm so passionate of allowing people to be enlightened by. These are actually symptoms of needing connection in our life. Never before have I felt as passionate about the solution being connection. And that's connection to ourselves, to our beliefs and our values. Like, where are we being taught this from a very young age, that our beliefs create our reality? Mindfulness is being introduced. Like, can we celebrate how that is in schools, and meditation's being introduced? And though we look at the problem, I can see great value that things are changing. I can see in society that people are rejecting this lifestyle and following purpose more in their life, that they don't have to earn just the big bucks, that the stress, $10.9 billion is spent on stress leave, but people are finding tiny homes to live in, and they're eating raw food with their health, and they're coming back to their families. And this I want to celebrate. The conflict is actually creating a worldwide movement of people who are believing that they need to live a life of purpose over materialism. And I just know deep in my heart that we can celebrate the tribes that are out there that are on purpose, that people like you who are watching this are on purpose. And you can be authentic too, in that sometimes we're not. Sometimes we are disconnected, but in that flow, it brings us back to what we truly value. And it is a purpose-driven community that is unleashing the world's potential. And I believe in that more than anything that I have in my life now. The coolest thing about purpose is it's about meaning. Really, that's what we're breaking that word down. What gives me meaning? What do I love? Why do I do what I do? And that internal process of saying to myself, why do I do what I do, gives something meaning. And instead of saying, do I really need to be doing that does not serve me, that which makes me feel shame, that which makes me feel guilty, that makes me stressed and has anxiety, that is that internal belief system that's saying, I'm not good enough to do that. So I like to think of it as, let's have a look at purpose being what brings me meaning in my life. And in that space, can I do those actions? Can I live out that behavior? And that will give me purpose, and that will give me peace in my life. If you think about that from an individual level, what is the community around you doing? Do they live like that too? And so it's really about aligning people in your life who are on the same path as you, have the same values as you. And even though you might disagree with their values sometimes, you're really open and authentic to their views. So it also creates empathy in community and to others. So that's creating more peace around you and surrounding you. And look at our communities. Those that come together with a shared mission and shared value really are on purpose. And again, to me, that's how people then say, this is no longer about me and what I believe. How can I be of service? And service is great in the world where there is so much conflict, because rather than thinking an individualist, we're now at peace with the people around us and we can serve them too. So that to me is my utopia, but I see it every day. It feels like love. When the world is on purpose, it's love. And I think a lot of the time that people think love is hippie, or it's a bit off brand and they don't want to share that love, but it is at the core what our humanity is about. So being on purpose is about love.
Unity Foundation was founded in 1976 for the purpose of promoting peace, cooperation, and unity throughout the world. Now we work with the United Nations on our Peace Day global broadcast, streaming live from the UN. You know, in our early years, we did a lot of big special events, concerts, festivals to bring people together, unity festivals. And now through media, we're uniting many, many more people around the world. 9 years ago, I had a vision. What if the media of the world could come together for just one day to promote peace and nothing but peace? It was quite challenging because I didn't know a lot about the internet, and I knew that it would have to be on the internet. You know, I knew how to search for websites, I knew how to read my email, but that was about it. But because of the power of intention and my intention to make it happen, what ultimately happened was a miracle. People came together who were internet wizards, who knew how to put it all together. People came on board who were connected to the International Day of Peace, and they gave it the blessing. And a few months later, this miracle happened. The first Peace Day global broadcast, the first time there had ever been a broadcast completely focused on peace, took place. The next year, to our surprise, the UN asked us to put it on their website. And then we were streaming right from the UN website all over the world. And all these organizations were embedding the broadcast on their websites, and they were becoming peace broadcasters. Anyone in the world could actually be a peace broadcaster. What an amazing experience. Next year will be our 10th anniversary, and we're going to make it really, really special. This year we had over 700,000 views for Peace Day, and there'll be well over 1 million next year. Unity Foundation's Positive Spin television show was founded 20 years ago as an antidote to the sensationalism and violence rampant in the news media. Positive Spin presents positive, innovative, and solution-oriented news from around the world, honoring those heroes, those change makers in local communities, national communities, and all around the world who are working to create a better world for themselves and future generations. Way back in 1995, I was involved in something called Citizens for United Nations People's Assembly. And that was an organization that was trying to reform the UN to have a People's Assembly along with the General Assembly. So people around the world would actually have a voice on those international issues that affect their daily lives. Soon after, I became the president of the organization, which I was until just a few years ago. So global citizenship is really important to me and has been a thread throughout my life. You know, the thing that has really guided my life all these years and allowed me to do Positive Spin, Peace Day Global Broadcast, all of these events, is the power of intention. And that's the one thing I always like to share with people. Because if your intention is pure and focused, you can manifest just about anything in this world, including a Peace Day Global Broadcast, or the first Positive Spin television show, which was the first positive news shows on the air. There's so many things that each one of you can do. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your vision with all of your power. Stay totally focused to that vision, and miracles will happen in your life. I can attest to that. That's how I live my life.
So, what did you think? We've seen so many different ways that we can look at conflict differently, that it can deepen our understanding of other people, that we can actually search inside ourselves for our purpose, for what gives us meaning, what is helping us to become more enlightened, more conscious, more evolved, more unified. We've seen how we can search within ourselves and discover whether we have aligned with our soul contract. How are we feeling about our self-worth here on the planet and everybody else's? How are we striving towards seeing everyone is connected, that we all have a right, an equal right to be here, an equal say to achieve peace in the world, within ourselves, the community, and also the planet. And we've seen how we can actually change our mind, change our point of view, have a more enlightened point of view, and look at things with more of a positive spin to them. And straight up, that is what this Enlightenment Activation series has been all about. Reprogramming our mind so that when those things that we usually recoil in horror to are presented before us, we have an opportunity to see them in a different light, to see them as positive impulses, triggers, and catalysts for our enlightenment so that we can retain a place of peace so much quicker. I hope you've enjoyed this series of Enlightenment Activation and learned as much as I have. Blessing.